Hey guys, my name's Luke. I just spent a whole year out in Southeast Asia, and I wanted to let you guys know which cities and which areas I like the most. So here's a list of the 7 places that I had the best time in Southeast Asia. My favorite city that I visited in my whole year out there was Dalat. As a skater and a traveler, it had everything that I wanted. It has clean air, great weather, it's a beautiful city, wonderful food, wonderful people, tons of nature, tons of exploration, and then skateboarding too. There's some really great skating there. So Dalat had everything for me. Um, it's very cheap all around. It's not super crowded with white tourists, but there are a lot of Vietnamese tourists that go there. Um, but yeah, I made a lot of friends there. Always had a good time there. Um, the only downsides of Dalat is if you're a nightlife person, which I'm not. There's not a whole lot of nightlife. The whole city seems to shut down around 10 p.m. But if you're kind of a day life exploration person, there's so many hikes and waterfalls and camping and all that great stuff. And it just is such a beautiful city. If you can look at some drone shots of it, it's sort of this super secret area, like not a lot of people know about, not a lot of people talk about, but um, just had a great time there. My second favorite city was Kampot, Cambodia, and I went there a couple times. The first time I went to a place called Sabai Beach, which I have a previous video, link in description, and it's a very beautiful place that's a little bit outside of the city, and everything is like a tree fort, and they have a bunch of food on premises, and you can just kind of chill there and have a nice romantic getaway or go solo. Also, a cool thing about most of the places you can stay in Camp Hot is they're on the water, and I'm not sure the name of the river. I went swimming in there every day. Never had any like itchiness issues. Really nice, refreshing water. There's some areas where there's like a little more garbage, but most of the places I went swimming at, really fun. Some nice little like bluffs and piers you can go diving in. There's even like a water sports area on the river. So and then Camp Hot, it's hot there, but it's a couple degrees cooler than most other places in Cambodia. Um, there's another really awesome place in Kampot. It's called Bokor Mountain, and I did a whole video on it, but it got my phone got stolen along with all the footage. So I'll talk about it. They shot a movie up there. It's very picturesque. You can rent a motorcycle for about $5 a day in Kampot, and they're pretty nice bikes. And go up to Bokor Mountain, go explore around. There's all these abandoned buildings, and it's kind of like misty up there and mystical, and all this nature and different animals and stuff, and just a really cool place if you're into like renting a motorcycle and just going out and exploring and having like a little bit more freedom to do what you want versus being in a congested city like Phnom Penh or Hanoi. So Kampot was my second favorite place. Third favorite place is Chiang Mai, Thailand. Why Chiang Mai? Well, it is like going to Bangkok, but not having as much stress. It's actually a very small city, but it has a high population. I think a lot of people live in the countryside, and so you kind of get um, you can get a pretty good Thai experience without being like totally overwhelmed with feeling like a tourist. Even though it is a fairly tourist city, but it's not too big, and yeah, you can rent a motorcycle there, and go out exploring. There's lots of hikes and waterfalls that are not too far away. The food is really great, cow soy soup, and everything's pretty cheap, good accommodations. Uh, just a nice smaller city, and I'd say like Chiang Mai, if you're flying into Asia for the first time, it's definitely like a hub, and you can find cheap tickets there. So I think it's a good place to start your adventures, and it's a pretty popular place to start from there too. Uh, the downsides of Chiang Mai are, like I said, you can rent a motorcycle, but I found out of every Southeast Asia city, there's the most police checkpoints there and highest probability of getting pulled over and ticketed. If that factors into your plans, if you want to rent a motorcycle and not be like super stressed out, you might want to avoid Chiang Mai. The other thing is during a certain season, like February to about May, it's known as the burning season. That's when the air quality is really bad. I was there during that, and I actually didn't have too much of a problem. I did notice it on some days. You could see the haze from certain vantage points, and you can kind of feel it, but it's not motorcycle pollution as much as it is burning. So it didn't bother me as much, but I know it gets really, really bad. There's maybe some of the worst pollution in the world, but that's during certain times. Um, and yeah, that about sums up Chiang Mai. So uh, definitely check it out. So my fourth favorite place would have to be Mai Pai Bay. It's either Mai Pai or Empai Bay, which is in Koh Rong Sam Liam. So what you do is you get yourself down to Sihanoukville or Oakris Beach in Cambodia, and then you take a boat. Most people choose to go to the bigger island, Koh Rong Sam Liam, which is total party island and actually one of my least favorite places. So don't get that confused with Koh Rong Sam Liam, which is a way different vibe. So you take a boat out there, it's about $20, and then to get to Mai Pai Bay, you actually have to take a second boat, which you may have to figure out when you get to the first dock. And that boat generally takes people to their Mad Monkey, which is a chain hostel, has a place out there that's kind of their own zone, and then about 15-minute boat ride past that is Mai Pai Bay. And it's very secluded, kind of like private island feel. Everything's really cheap. There's lots of great food there, and you'll probably find maybe only 50 people on the island tops, maybe 100. Um, but there's enough like kind of fun partying with locals and enough like chilling out, that if you want to have that like authentic being on a, if you've ever had that fantasy of being on a pretty much your own island or a deserted island or just kind of like separated from society, it definitely feels that way. It's not a lot of like Wi-Fi or cell phone service. Beaches are really gorgeous, water's great. The only downside is there's not a whole lot to do there, so I wouldn't plan on staying a long time. It does eventually get boring, but if you have had that kind of fantasy of being on your own deserted island, it's super cheap and easy to get out there, and everyone's really friendly. So, Koh Rong Sam Liam is number 4. All right, my fifth favorite place is Saigon. I did not expect to like Saigon as much as I did. What I've talked about before is I don't like crowded cities as much, and Saigon is huge and chaotic. But for whatever reason, I really did like the vibe there. It's very energizing. I think one of the things I like the most is out of any city I traveled in, I met the most people that were eager to do a cultural language exchange there. Just sitting out in pretty much any park, I would go out every day and just sit in the park that's by Boi Vien Road, which is the main backpacker district. And within a matter of minutes, Vietnamese people would come up to me and ask if they could uh, practice speaking English with me, which is the way I met a lot of locals and made friends. And if you're looking to do something where um, you're more than just a tourist and you're doing a cultural exchange, I'd say Saigon is the place to go. And it's probably the easiest place to teach English if you want to. The food scene there is out of this world, just amazing street food, some of the best food. I ate at this one place every day, and uh, forgive me if I pronounce it wrong, but believe it's Bo La Lap or Bo Lap La. It's this kind of Vietnamese sausage that's covered in a little curry sauce and peanuts, and then you wrap it up with fresh herbs and vegetables in a rice paper and dip it in dipping sauce and eat it. And it was about $1, just this gigantic plate. And I'd eat that every day. And Saigon's huge. There's lots of cultural stuff to do. I would recommend the Vietnam War Museum, which is kind of a bummer to look at as an American, but very good cultural experience. And then for me, skateboarding, I met a lot of really cool people skateboarding there. That was kind of like where I felt like I connected the most with skaters out there. And it's very, very hot during the day, but it does cool down a little bit more during the night than most places. So around 9 or 10 p.m., you can get away with skating quite a bit. But yeah, the downside of Saigon, it is very chaotic, and it can maybe be a bit too much if you're looking for a more chill countryside experience. All right, my sixth favorite place in Southeast Asia. I'm going to put two places together since they're so close to each other. It was Danang and Hoi An. I'd probably put Danang a little bit higher than Hoi An. Just because Hoi An is very, very overrun with tourists. Da Nang's very touristy too, but it feels just more spread out or something. And one of the coolest things about Da Nang is I stayed at a hostel that was literally 1 block from the beach. I had free breakfast, and I was paying $2-3 a night. And I stayed there for almost 2 weeks. I would just wake up and go to the beach and get some breakfast, and there was a cool little yoga workout area there. I didn't have my skateboard at the time, but there's a really great kind of walkway on the beach. Just get a beach cruiser and go down. You can actually surf in Da Nang too. The waves aren't too epic, but during certain hours later in the day, there's some really great waves. And you can boogie board too. And so if you're into like chilling on the beach and keeping it really cheap, Da Nang is awesome. Not a whole lot of nightlife there, but the beach is really where it's at. They have concerts there, tons of volleyball nets, tons of people playing soccer. If you want to meet locals, really great way to just go out and start kicking a ball around or seeing if you join a volleyball game. And there seemed like a pretty cool expat scene, kind of in the main area. Food's really great. Banh Xio, which is the Vietnamese rice flour pancake, one of my favorite things. They have a whole street dedicated Banh Xio, and I think it's some of the best Banh Xio in all of Vietnam is in Da Nang. I made a friend there, and he took me to some, and it was about $2 for 6 of these huge things, and just delicious. And then Hoi An is a 45-minute bus ride there. You can actually take a city bus that only costs less than $1. Ask your hostel in Da Nang about it, because you can fly into Da Nang, and I think a lot of people do. But a lot of people pay for some premium limousine service or whatever. Don't do that. Just take the bus. Super cheap, super easy. And that'll take you to Hoi An. And yeah, Hoi An's beautiful. It is super saturated with tourists now, but um, it's the city of lanterns, I believe, and you got to go out during the daytime as well as nighttime. Another cool thing about Hoi An is every hotel and hostel gives you a free bike, and so it's very easy to just kind of cruise around and see the city by bike. It is very easy to get lost there, and for whatever reason, my Google Maps did not work while I was in Hoi An, so I got extra lost. But yeah, there's also a beach much like Danang, but waves aren't as great, and this sort of social aspect isn't as great. But it's only about a 3 mile bike ride, so if you want to hit the beach, super easy to do that. And really great food and just very colorful, fun area, but it is way more touristy than it used to be, and it's probably just getting more touristy. So I would put Da Nang a little bit higher than Hoi An, but I'm gonna say those two were definitely a thumbs up. All right, and this is my last one, and I only spent a few days there, and a lot of people don't seem to like it, but maybe just personally for me, I thought it had some potential. It was Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and a couple of reasons for that. Number one, it's just as cheap as most other places. Um, it's very modern, um, but the thing I liked the most about it was lots of people speak English there, and they speak English on a level where you can have actually like an interesting intellectual conversation. I met a fellow just at a food cart on the side of the road, and I ended up talking to him for almost 2 hours about everything from politics, President Trump, to um, sort of the Muslim population, and just many different interesting things. And I didn't really have conversations like that elsewhere. Most other places, people spoke English well enough that you could have like a hello, how are you conversation, but nothing that was like super invigorating or stimulating like that. Um, it's a very large Indian population there, and as far as I understand, most most Indians um, speak English very well, and uh, I don't know exactly why that is, but yeah, I was able to have good conversations with locals there. Another thing is there's a really cool skate park there called the Putrajaya Challenge Park. I had a really good time there, and there's a downtown is really easy to access things. And there's lots of like these sort of nature hills that are in the city. Um, and I only spent a couple days there because I was going to Bali and really stoked on that, which Bali gets thumbs down for me. But um, I found that I definitely like to go back there, and it makes me want to go and really explore Malaysia more because I thought the people were really great there, and it's a huge country with lots and lots of other places. Uh, Downsides of it is modern and maybe not as if you do kind of enjoy that more like rustic, authentic Southeast Asian experience, it's not quite that. Um, it is like a big commercial city, which has its pros and cons, I suppose. And then it is like pretty much everywhere in Southeast Asia is very hot, and I found it just extra hot there, um, and that can definitely factor into your decision of like how long you can last walking around and doing things outside. So yeah, Kuala Lumpur. All right, that's it, guys. Those are the 7 places that I like the most. I'm gonna have a few more videos coming out. Pros and cons of Asia, some travel tip videos, and also some of the cities that I did not like. Some of these you would not expect, so stay tuned for those, and thanks for watching.